Okay, so I'm a patient here at St Wilfrid's in a sense. I was referred a couple of three, maybe more, at least 3 years ago. Didn't expect to be here now. I won't bore you with all my medical details except to say I had kidney cancer 20 years ago, kidney removed, the cancer came back in my solitary kidney, as they like to call it, the medics, and so I've got 2 tumours on the solitary kidney and a tumour on my adrenal gland. So that's what I know about, because I haven't had any scans for several years now. I chose not to. Who am I in a real sense? 70 years old, live with my partner, been together for 30 years, love gardening, got a big garden, live on the South Downs. So when I came here, I thought I had very little time left, and I was in a panic. As it's turned out, I've been very fortunate, and I'm still here and still reasonably well as well. So I guess that's given me an opportunity to think about and plan for my future and what I want, that not everyone gets the opportunity to have. So I was introduced to the idea of advanced care planning at the wellbeing sessions here, and people come and go to those, and they kind of sow seeds, I think. As I said, I like horticulture and gardening, so there'll be a bit of that. So they kind of just drop things out. My first thought was that, okay, it's about getting your burial sorted out, whether you want to be cremated and all that stuff, funeral type planning. Then I looked at some of the headings on the forms and realised actually there was a bit more to it than that. It was a lot more than that. And some of it I'd done, stuff about my kind of circumstances, my bank accounts and all that I'd done. So I took away the forms, looked through them, realised there were some things I hadn't thought about at all, including things I wasn't sure I wanted to think about. Took the conversation game cards were offered to borrow. My partner and I, we didn't play it, but we looked at them and had some discussion. I started a futures planning folder. For me, having a system was a good thing. It started off with my, what do I want? What do I want from, if I had poems, because I like poetry, so that was quite important to me to get those right. I realised I didn't want to go into hospital. It was a really strong driver for me. The medical interventions weren't curative and actually were quite dangerous. So I didn't want to do that. And so I wanted to make sure it was clear that those things didn't happen to me. So I filled in with the medic. We talked about it and filled in quite early on my do not resusc form. I was feeling comfortable with the idea of my mortality, and I wanted a natural death as far as that was possible. So subsequently I filled in completed, again with a medic here, an advanced decision to refuse treatment form, and in fact a year later wanted to make that even tighter. We revised that, and it's as comprehensive as I would want. I was edging closer to actually imagining my own death. And I realised that although I'd attended a number of wellbeing sessions and looked at this priorities of care document quite a number of times, I was avoiding that. I was just a step too far. I think I'm quite an upfront person, but that was really hard. But eventually I got round to it. And what I would want to say is that for me that was it was really reassuring process. By actually thinking about it, I realised, I'm just going to read here what I put in my preparation for this, that although it was the most difficult to complete, and only I could do it. It was a very private thing. I couldn't share it with my partner, although we had good conversations. That bit of it, it was my business. I had to kind of work that through. And that idea that I could make some simple wishes known to some other people, and as far as possible they'd make that happen for me, that was really reassuring. Preferences regarding my future care, as I said, that was the easy bit. To avoid being in hospital, I would wish to be made comfortable at home or in the hospice. I would not wish to be investigated by or taken to or treated in hospital. I know I'm a bit extreme, and most people perhaps wouldn't take that. Hey ho, that's me. I guess that's another message. Everybody is absolutely different, and don't assume what people want. If my condition deteriorates, where would I want? Probably here, but before that, perhaps at home. Who knows? Is there anything you'd like to avoid, anything you'd ideally like to avoid happening to you? So I've written, whilst I would want all the palliative care you could give, I would want a natural death, and therefore in a hospice or supported by them at home, I would not want a medicalised death. And I even managed, because the next one, do you have any comments or wishes you would like to share with others? I even managed to get myself to the point of in the bed, perhaps here, and thinking about that. And of course, then I realised, yes, there were certain ways. Obviously, it's down to my partner and what's okay for her. But there are certain restrictions. We're donating our bodies for research. So I know that has requirements. If my death could be useful and filmed, I probably wouldn't notice it, so that'd be all right. I wouldn't mind if it could be used for training purposes, if my partner was happy, only assuming she was happy. And I would like my body to be left where I die for a reasonable length of time with the window open to allow my soul to return to the universe of origin. Now, that was incredibly tough to write and makes me feel quite emotional now. But it's also hugely reassuring to have made my wishes known in a way that I hope can be understood and passed on. And I know that my partner feels reassured that there aren't, and I've left a lot of room for her to make her own decisions, because it's going to be a tough call for her, and I don't want to put some stuff on her that would be difficult. But that was hard, really, 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 really hard to do, but I can't emphasise how useful it's been. So the health care plan is mine. It's not yours, the people who fill it in or help me fill it in. It's mine. It's my stuff. And I feel really, really strongly about that, because you need to know. You want to get it right for the person, I'm sure. But in the doing of that, it's the process, it's the conversations you have. The note-taking is important, because it's no good me having all those ideas and then sticking a piece of paper at the back of a drawer. It doesn't work. I won't get what I want. So it is important to document it and to have the person see why that document, that writing needs to occur. And of course, because I've got certain wishes, I want to make sure that as far as they're able, it's communicated to all who need to know. I need my GP to have it, I need the staff here to have it, I need it to be on record, so if the paramedics call in, I guess that's easier if someone's living alongside you. I involved my partner, less so my friends, and obviously I was hugely assisted by the staff here, and the fact that they just kept not pushing, just taking the opportunities as they came up, I think. Just if I said something where some aspect of this could connect, then they would be there and say, well, maybe you could see the doctors, the medic, to talk about that and get your form filled in if you're worried about going to hospital. You see what I mean? They took the opportunities. that were around to help me. Don't be afraid to talk about it. It might take a while, you might want to come back, and don't be afraid if I'm emotional, because it is emotional thinking about this stuff. I think there are opportunities to listen for, and I mean, obviously they got a head start here because they're in that business. And I guess, I don't know, maybe, I don't know how it is for you in a care home provision, whether there's a slight deceit about what's really where you, I don't know. Here it's about an upfrontness about mortality and dying, but a focus on living well. So I guess it's the balance for you. We're all different. I'm sure if someone else was sitting here, it would be a very, very different story, and I don't represent everyone, of course. And it takes a little while for some people to get to some places, and it took me a long while to get to that part, which now I feel I'm most satisfied by. That's actually the part that gives me the biggest sense of, well, try to get things in place.